Welcome to the Strategy Skills Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Safarova, and this episode is sponsored by strategytraining.com. And today we have with us Dr. Rouzbeh Yassini, Emmy winner, founder of LANcity, and author of The Accidental Network. And he is known as the father of the cable modem and leads innovation through YAS Foundation. Rouzbeh, welcome.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and your audience, Chris.
Well, this is my honor to introduce you to our listeners. Your story is incredible. What you have done for all of us is incredible. And thank you for all you have done. So when you arrived in the US with $750 in family savings and no safety net, what gave you the belief that you could build something big here?
Well, let me go back in the history. By 1987, I had two set of background experience. One was on General Electric, building TVs, VCR, cameras, and all the other stuff that goes over the coax. And then I had a company working in a company named Proteon, where I learned about data networking. The idea in my mind was, why don't we do the data and the video and the voice all over one cable instead of two cable? And at that time, nobody believed A could be done. B is necessary, because why would the people want to be connected from their home and the computers to other computers? Makes no sense. So my mission started by searching and finding the vehicles to be able to do that. It took me 9 years to actually be able to bring my vision that voice, data, and video can be traveled over the coax cable and make every American home, or for that matter, every global home, to be a part of a broadband infrastructure. But through that, I had to, A, build a product that works and reliable, B, convince the cable industry and cable operators that this is a huge revenue for them, and C, show practically that this stuff could be a scale in the millions of the people. Well, make the story short for you, by year 2022, if you look, now the cable industry and the cable operators are making more money for developing and delivering internet and the data over their coax than they actually do for the video. So it was a short story of the success of transforming a cable industry from being an entertainment and a video operation to a high-speed data, video, and the voice all digitally being transferred over the same coaxial cable that was covering the entire United States. So that was the mission, that was the goal. We started in 1987. By 1996, we had brought the $18,000 price of a device to below $295. And then we entered helping the industry to make that global standard, which is known as a DOCSIS. As such, this global initiative has taken over, and there are significant homes around the US and abroad that using the cable industry to provide broadband services and be connected, Chris.
Tell us a little more. I know it is such an in-depth, incredible story, and everything is in the book. But for our listeners, just to get a little bit more understanding of your journey, of how you made it happen.
That's an excellent question. Most entrepreneurs believe strongly on a vision that they have. The question comes to the execution. My execution had a number of the barriers. In some cases, actually, I refer to 500 of them. But let's talk about the big one. First, financial barriers. No bankers, no venture capitalists, no cable industry. The players wanted to believe that you can put high-speed data over the infrastructure. So that was the first barrier. The second barrier was the technology, to be able to bring the size of the product and cost of the product to the consumer level. The third was innovation and integrations, to be able to do reliable modulation technology and the data transfer that can work under all hostile environments. So if you grab those three, what are called major barriers, then you'll face a mountain that you cannot really climb. And everyone that I talk with was telling me that why would you want to do something that A, nobody needs, B, nobody finance, and C, technically you cannot get there. But we knew it was just a matter of a time and matter of execution and matter of delivering the pieces. So because I was so early with my thought process, and because my idea was so big in the beginning, it took us a good 9 years to be able to passionately work with a small group of the people, as the book captures, This is the story of the 13 employees and the 7 consultants, total of 20 people, where we got not also the technology to work, but also we brought the cable industry to a level that believed they can deliver high-speed data services, and more importantly, in a manner that they adopted it to make it a global standard. In fact, the way we deal with that was we used to go to the cable industry and the consumers that we had. We say, we're going to leave you with the puppies and play with the puppies, which was the cable modem, for 4 weeks. Then we're going to come and pick him up. Every time we went to pick him up, nobody wanted to give him away because they were how useful and how productive the product was to them. And I have remember a meeting that I had with a bunch of venture capitalists where I estimated there will be 1 million plus user by 1999 that will be connected to the broadband. And I remember my venture guys told me that, Rouzbeh, we like you. We understand your passion. We understand you can get this thing done. But you know nothing about how hard it is to get to 1 million user by 1999. This was early 1990, 1989 timeframe. Well, guess what? They were right and I was wrong. By end of 1999, we end up to 2 million customer instead of 1. So, and the product was working flawlessly. This was all done because we had a good group of the working engineers, good group of the people that believe in my vision, and we were able to execute against some of the big companies, which were our competitors. Our competitor were companies like Motorola, HP, Intel, and we were a small company of the 20 with the self-funding and to get the job done. So we feel very proud. And that was the reason we wanted to put that as stories in the book, because a typical entrepreneur goes to venture capitalist, gets the money and the support and get the job done. In this specific case, we didn't have any venture capitalists to support us. We were self-funded. But more importantly, when we got the technology, they completed and working reliably, we were able actually to provide that technology for free to the cable industry as an open standard that they could utilize it and then bring it to the more like a global level. So it was not also developing the technology on ourselves, but also providing it with royalty free to the industry that they can utilize it and scale it higher up to the more users and more cities and more towns and so on.
And then eventually you sold the company for 60 million. Talk us through that period of your life.
That's a very tough decision for every entrepreneur to decide, because your startup company is your baby. You like to hold it, you like to grow it, and you like to make it to be more well-known. But we were against a tough, big corporation and competitors at the time. So we had about 90% of the market shares between 1987 to 1996. Our technology was flawless and was doing a very excellent job. Most of my customers were telling me, Rouzbeh, we like your technology, your cable modem does a very good job, but you're a small company. You will not be able to scale to the expectation we have. The CEO of the Bay Network at the time was an excellent friend of mine, and we were able to communicate with him to show him the potential of the market, show him the value of our product, and showing what our customers are asking us. So putting in our customers' needs first and putting our customers' desire about utilizing our technology at a higher level of a scale would be the best thing for us we could do. And so the merger of our company to the Bay Network was the right thing to do for everybody, and also rewarded my employees and my staff that was working so hard to be able to get some financial reward from that deal as well. So at that time, actually, I used to run my company in an open platform, talk with my employees, talk with my managers, and most of them thought it's better to sell the company. And while I had that founding feeling, let's keep the company and let's grow it more, it really made sense, the company to be sold. And that result was very successful because as a result of us selling the company to Bay Networks, shortly after Bay Network was purchased by Nortel, and the scalability of our technology became to be very visible worldwide.
Of course. When you look back on this entire journey of building this company, what do you feel you should have done differently, or maybe you're not sure if you should have done something differently, but the doubts are there?
Well, entrepreneurs sacrifice a significant part of his or her personal life to build an innovation and build a company around it. Today's companies are at a different levels, different chemistry, and just let's pick up, for example, the AI, artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence would go nowhere, or most companies in the Silicon Valley would go nowhere if the broadband connection was not working at high speed. Remember, we brought the speed of the connectivity through cable modem almost 1,000 times faster in about 30 years. It's because of that speed that Silicon Valley companies have taken off with the social media networking. You have 230 million people on a Netflix that are using the technology to be able to get their entertainment video. You saw that during the COVID area, everybody was using the computer at home to work. So all those are huge benefit that the broadband has brought up. But what that does for entrepreneur in our time frame, we sacrifice the personal life because you put 7/24 your efforts in there. You sacrifice proving the technology and innovation that took 9 years to really bring it to the maturity levels. And I wouldn't change anything because I was passionate that broadband communication and high-speed data will help telecommuting. As a result, we use less oil to burn in our car. Therefore, the planet Earth will be cleaner and more susceptible to more people to live in it. And as a result, was really a nice way to be able to do that. Would I be able to do exactly the same thing we did in 87 to 96 right now? Absolutely not. One is the age reason. The other one is at those era, we took so many risks, so many challenges, and we had nothing to lose in a sense. And we had a very open communication methodology to talk with our team. So I wouldn't do anything different, but I don't know if there is enough passion and energy left on an entrepreneur after you go through all that hard work and all that effort to be able to repeat over and over and over again.
I think you have done more than enough for one lifetime for
Yeah.
humanity, so you don't need to worry about that.
Nicely put. Yeah, I agree with that.
Looking back, what did you learn about yourself during those hardest years?
So as a founder, you have multiple roles. One is to be visionary and make sure that your vision is achievable. So I had to connect my consumers and my customers to my employees, that they both feel what we are developing is exactly what's needed. So making that bridge is one job that entrepreneur or a person like me had to have. The second job was making sure there is enough self-funding and there's enough financing that can keep the momentum going. The third piece is to make sure that we have marketed the technology and branded the technology that is simple enough for everybody to understand what this value is. Because I remember clearly back in 1991, 1992, the people asking, why would anybody wants to connect their computer? They wouldn't even know what the World Wide Web was at the time. And so you have to overcome that. Then on top of all that, you have to put your accounting hats on. You have to put your HR hats on. You have to put your operation hats on, because you simply just cannot afford to really get all these people that you need to get the job done, because you put all your energy on design and development and the marketing of the technology. So as a founder and a CEO, I had to carry all those balls. So I would always tell the people that my first shift is to get the vision and the technical evaluation and implementation done. A second shift is the marketing efforts and the branding efforts and being able to communicate. And the third shift is all the operational issue that goes around on that. I remember, for example, we were using a specific memory chips for our product, and we had worked with a very major Fortune 100 company at the time to get our job done. And we were right before production that major Fortune 100 company says, I'm sorry, Rouzbeh, we just decided to discontinue this new product and we're not going to build that flash memory. I said, oh my God, this is really going to be impactful to our production. We have to have it. So finding a way around it and being able to immediately work with the other vendors and get a substitute that is exactly compatible to our design was a monumental task. Or developing our integrated circuits in order, what we used to call shrink the baby, shrink the size of the product. Our product used to be something about 80 pounds of the product. They're using significant power, or bring them all that to less than 7 pounds. It really requires a lot of development and integration of the silicon that we have to do. So all that comes together is really, at the time, was magical, yet at the time was really driven by passion and hard belief that the hard work is going to pay off. And all we had to do is just get layer of the onion be peeled. And as a result, we were able to accomplish what most major competitors of us still had the PowerPoint, but we actually had a product that was doing the talking.
And what is very telling about people like you who do big things is you were like that when you were working for someone else. You were exactly like that. And you were not only working like that for yourself.
Yeah, so it's an energy level and is a passion that drives you when you work for yourself and when you work with the hard group of the people who believe in your vision. And there is no politics in the company. The only goal is get the technology done, put it in front of the customer, make it operational, and scale it up. That was our mission. So it was really rewarding, those area of our development and working between 1987 to 1996. That focus and that energy was really the fuel we needed to go. And when you work for someone else in another company, the visions and the missions are not as clear as it was for us. Because I knew every time I would talk in the front of the cable operators or in front of the schools or in front of the universities or in front of the corporate America, I say, listen, LANcity means take your local area networking citywide. Local area networking at 10 megabits can go 30 miles, 200 miles, and as far as city and the country. The people says, oh, that never can be done. Show me. And when you put the product in front of them that shows that function, you make believers out of everyone. So thanks to the World Wide Web taking visibility by 1994, thanks for cable industry believing in the vision that we had, thanks for our product doing everything that it's supposed to do, all the stars were lining up for us. And our revenue, I give you in 1991 was at $0. By 1996, we were making $40 million every quarter as a result of the technology that we had developed and we brought into the market. So it is that drive and is that believing in your vision and the team that is you surround around you that clearly has a focus and their objective basically is to make something work that can be done, but it takes time. And LANcity is a good example of what we were able to accomplish. And this book, The Accidental Network, really takes a good cut at this whole story. How did the cable modem happen? How did broadband took off? And how a small group of the people were able to really change huge impact to our telecommuting and the healthcare and our education and the government connections, where everybody in the world now is connected to the broadband and provides their daily services and so on and so forth.
If a young founder asked you today, what does it really take? What would you say?
Well, what it takes is first have a big idea. Second, believe in your idea is achievable and surround yourself with the people who can be better than you are and smarter than you are and with just as passion as you have. And thirdly, make sure there is a consumer or customer who believes in that vision. If you got those three ingredients, then you really got a good farmland to start developing. I can tell you, you look at today's startup, some of the numbers is mind-boggling. The companies are getting seed round financing of $2 billion to $4 billion at valuation of $12 billion. Those numbers are unimaginable back in time of the 1986, 7, 8 timeframe or even early 1990s. Those were exit criteria for a company to make that type of money. So it's not just really money. I believe we are a little bit in wrong chapters by valuing certain industries, specifically AI or specifically robotic with those numbers, because I think the money is not going to make those success. It's going to make some of this company fail. But you need more than that is a proven prototype and a product that actually does the talking. And I think we are short on that. I'll give you an example in the sense of the energy that it takes. Because for some of these AI companies to be successful, they need gigawatts of the power, just the power to turn on their computers to get the AI modeling to work. It takes 10 plus years to build a nuclear reactor that give you 1 gigawatts of the power. And so to get the 9, 10, 11, 12 gigawatts power they need, we're about 10 plus years away for those power sources be made. If they go nuclear or if they go other sources, might take less or more. Not having the power to turn these computers on, a lot of people get so excited. Well, by that AI chip, by this AI chip, we're going to make these servers working. But if there's no power, how are you going to make them work? How are you going to train them? And so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding on some of this aspect. And I'm hoping that as time goes on, the entrepreneur to be able to balance the reality with the product that does the talking and a customer who can actually believe you can accomplish all that.
That is very true. Not to step away too early from your incredible story, you described sobbing in a Honda in your garage. What happened that day, if you could share it with our listeners, and what changed because of this situation?
So that was 1987 time frame, and I was working for this high-speed data company that I went to the founder of the company, which was from MIT, and I told him, listen, I have this idea that I want to share with you, and I think it will work very well. Our company does data networking, and the way we do data networking, we're using twisted pair, and with the twisted pair, we are connecting the computers together within a building. I told him I have an idea that we can connect computers over the city and over the entire country if we want to. Then instead of just in a building, his view was that if somebody wanted to solve that problem, was already solved, number one. And then he made a comment that, well, you better go back to your office and do what you are hired to do. And he also made a funny comment about me being a foreigner. So combination of those three elements together really gave me a feeling that he was rejecting the idea without even understanding what I'm trying to tell and what I'm trying to show. What I shared with him was that, hey, there's a huge market, a lot bigger market than just connecting a building or corporation together if we can connect the entire city and the people within the city. So that company could have been the founders and orientations of the entire broadband industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar market. So I was very upset when I left his office and ride on my Honda Civics at the times and drove back to my apartment that I had rented. And in the garage, I couldn't stop crying about it because I was really disappointed that he's a founder by himself. He was very well known and respected in MIT. Why wouldn't he give me the opportunity to explain at least to him? And he would tell me later is that, well, maybe we do that 2 years from now or 3 years from now, not immediately. Instead of saying that's a stupid idea, nobody wants to do that. If it wanted to be done, it has already done. So I quit the next day, and that was probably the best thing I could have done. And he came after me. He said, well, no, we really need you. I said, remember, you told me I'm no good and my idea is no good. Why would you want to hire somebody who's no good? So that was the start of my personal road trips for myself to build my vision by myself instead of trying to, have it another company to adopt it.
This is such an incredible example of not betraying yourself.
Yeah, good way of putting it. Thank you.
Why do you think people could not see it?
Well, of course, the big ideas, you look at Elon Musk, for example. Elon Musk earlier went to Russia, tried to buy a rocket from them, and the people were laughing at him. Why don't you want to buy the rocket? And when he was coming back from that trip, he started analyzing, saying, hey, what is all the key element of the rocket actually looks like? And then he said, well, I'm going to restart and rebuild a new fresh rocket from the beginning and take all that extra expenses, all that extra overhead, all that bureaucracy out of it. He was successful. Netflix, the same way. Nobody believed in a streaming video, but they said, hey, this will make sense. So we're going to take a whole fresh look at this and be able to come up with the technology to be able to do that. Of course, they needed broadband. When the broadband was available, help them up. So they went from 0 customer to 230 million customer. In our view was that this was a big idea. It required the cable industry to adopt a two-way system. It requires a cable modem technology that can work reliably, and it requires a pricing that would be able to be purchased by consumer, and consumer be able to afford it. So I could see those three elements. In New England, we have a story because we have a lot of granite in these states of the New England. We always say sculptures can not chip enough the granite to look like a beautiful statue that everybody can look to the museum. But we could see the statue. We just have to take time to chisel the granite until the sculpture comes out of it. Here was exactly the same way. I knew I could solve the cost problem. I knew I could solve the technology problem. And I know that I could bring the cable industry to believe their two-way solution works very well for them. So it was just a matter of the time to be able to implement all that together. So, and I had nothing to lose, what is the penalty of me failing? My plan of failing is that I won't have a job. And that's not really bad things. You could always go look for another job. So because of the big idea impact that entrepreneur bring in, like Elon Musk did, like the Mr. Reed did for the Netflix, like we had in the case for our broadband, you need to have those big moves to be done. And I just happened to be lucky at the right time, in the right place to see a right solution, and then surround myself by people smarter than myself and be able to get the job done. So that's really what I call home run, in a sense of a success we had as a team.
Definitely. And I doubt that people were smarter than you. They just had
probably
different expertise than you, but you're obviously a very smart and kind person. Do you feel that being an immigrant gave you a certain edge that you otherwise would not have?
Well, this is a double-edged sword, right? In some cases, being an immigrant is good because the people kind of sometimes don't respect the immigrants or don't count on them, and they don't think they're going to get something done. On the other hand, being immigrants and coming to this beautiful country, which has a lot of opportunity and a lot of what I call area of the growth, you will see that an immigrant can work very hard, 7/24, and prove himself or herself to the rest of the community that we can make a positive impact to the new country we have adopted. So from working hard and proving ourselves, I think that's a great motivations. And the fact that people might ignore you and not count on you that you can deliver, that also forces you to want to prove that you are right. But I was lucky. I had a lot of great mentors in my careers in General Electric and the Proteon that I work. And I learned a lot from these mentors to be patient and to work on a team and I believe in the capabilities that I have learned through my West Virginia University when I went to school there in Morgantown and through the job. So because I was lucky, because I have great mentors, because I learned to be patient, because I was surrounded by good people, and because the vision that I had seen for connecting voice data video over same cable made real sense to me, the stars were lined up for my success. All I had to do to implement and execute. And as I mentioned, we had certain barriers for that, but I was lucky that at that time frame, I happened to be in the right spot. And being an immigrant probably was a good energy for me because of proving myself to my new country that things can be done the right way. So I can see the result right now. And looking back, I'm very happy to see my contribution because it's not just to the business. What we did with the cable modem, we helped the humanity. Look at the telehealth. Look at how much improvement we got to telehealth post-COVID via the broadband services, that a lot of people have better quality of life by being at home and remotely being able to manage and monitor and see the test result. Look at the quality of education, look at how you and I do our everyday job from home, look at how we deal with our government and work through information that's available. And thanks to the most of the Silicon Valley companies and the Boston company in Austin, Texas, and the others, you'll see so many tools now available that our children in age 4, 3, 2 have access to programming and playing with the iPads and the tablets. So these are very good. You look at the farmers that now using the technology connected with each other for irrigations of their plant and the trees to use better quality and less waters to be able to do that. So I think our broadband evolution not also was a financial success that impacted the GDP of the country and GDP of the world, but also helped the quality of the life and also helped the humanity to get to this next level of what I call comfort zone that we are now more as an information age than being an industrial age.
Without a doubt. Let's talk a little about AI, a little more, because I know we already touched on it. Where is AI, do you think, creates real value right now, and where it is just noise?
Well, so in a medical field, if we go back there, I think is an excellent pilots slash mentor for the doctors, because you can now use AI technology and look at the MRI or X-ray or CT scan a lot more in details and predicts a lot better visibility in certain of these results. So I think that's an excellent area. You can look at the consulting actually and a field of the technical analysis and a market analysis. There is a lot faster information that can be gathered through AI than an old-fashioned. I just heard a company like Gartner, who is very popular in this type of thing, they lost 50% of their stock value in the last 2 months simply because of what AI can do more faster and cheaper for them. So you look at the law, the same thing. We used to have lawyers look at the days and the weeks and the months to find a case study of a legal issue. Now that's available in the seconds to them. So I think in the area of what I call medicals, legal fields, consulting fields, education, AI can be a good companion to help and move those a long way. In the area that quote unquote you get AI tomorrow in the robotics, that robots does 100% of what an individual does, and also think just like ours and be able to function as a human being. I think it'll be about maybe 10 years away before that truly can work. If, for example, if you look at autonomous driving, we've been talking since 2014. Autonomous driving level 5 is coming and car going to drive themselves. Well, it's 2025. You still don't have that too many of those cars driving themselves yet. So it's about 11 years, takes a little longer. And I think that's the same thing is true in case of AI. And the other elements of the AI, which is dangerous, if the AI is only trained by 2 or 3 rich companies in the world and with no guideline and no quote unquote regulatory things around it, it would be very not productive for the other 8 billion people who might not be part of those companies. So there is an element of the AI that needs to be better understood for before it replaces the human being as in being projected to be able to do that. The other part of AI that I mentioned to you is the infrastructure to get the AI to the level that everybody's talking, because of the limitation and shortage of the power, is significant. And if anybody thinks these massive silicon that people are developing and these data centers can work overnight and get the job done, I think this is not quite right yet. You have heard in the last few months certain Silicon Valley companies making their own power generations in their own campus because they need that. Or they need to move to the states like West Virginia or Wyoming or other state that is full of energy to put the data centers there, and then through the broadband and high-speed connection and be able to reconnect all those things together. So The AI is a good thing in the sense of what we think it can accomplish. In fact, maybe the word AI is new, but AI functionality in a smaller scale has been around. We even had it in cable modem back in 1996, where I could look at the entire city and predict based on amount of the packets being dropped or amount of noise on the line, what part of the town or city is going to lose their services. We didn't quite call it AI, but it's the same concept, same type of a phenomenon. We'll call it network management at that time. So there are good bags, there are conservative bags, and there is what I call infrastructure bags that needs to fall together. But right now there is a frenzy. Anybody use the word AI wants to be billionaires, and the venture capitalists can't wait to throw billions and billions in some of those. But they're really lacking the operational experience, and they're lacking what I call a reality call. Because remember the dot-com era, we had a big bust in the dot-com. Why? Because it was oversold. I think the PR and marketing of AI is being oversold today. And that needs to, somebody brings the temperature down and pass it through what we call a reality test to make sure everything is exactly what it needs to be done. I heard from a company yesterday that they had to revise their operation plan, and they were saying by year 2028 they need $150 billion more than what they had anticipated. I mean, that's more than the money that half the countries in Africa use on an annual basis for their running the entire country. So we just have to be a little bit more realistic.
For our listeners who don't have tech background and they feel uneasy about how fast AI is developing, and they are concerned about staying relevant and being able to continue provide for their family, for themselves, being able to contribute, what do you think will happen in terms of the development of AI in the next few years? What is realistic in your opinion?
I would suggest for those who are not as technical and want to really ride the AI waves, to ask themselves what customer problem is that AI is solving, and what is the contribution of that AI solution to the workforce and to our economy. Because everybody can follow that the technology can grow and bring money or extend the business. So is it growing a business? Is it solving a problem? That's one set of question to ask. The other set of question is that is that technology scalable at the global level or at the country level? Or is it just a noise in the sense of a look, we accomplished something? And the third piece of that, I think, is to make sure that is that AI models and the technology that they think, is it affordable by average person? What I mean by that, we all have certain income, we all have certain bills to pay. Can we as a consumer afford to pay for that AI tool? And those key practical parameters will be very helpful, not just to the people who don't have technical background and want to get AI, but also to venture capitalists who say, oh, we got to solve this problem no matter what the price is. You must look at an operation cost, and you must look at the scalability and the value of the dollars that it requires to make that product of AI to work at a really what I call global scale. And none of those questions are answered. Right now, everybody is a vapor, where what I call everybody is happy with marketing and the PRs and image of it. And that's okay, because we saw that in dot-com era. We have seen that in industrial age before, back in 1930 as well. But hopefully we get some operational people added to this section of the AI, and some real questions are being developed to answer that. I will put a parallel for that for the cable modem. In the cable modem, back in 1990 and 1991, 1992, we were to a small town called Stowe in Massachusetts, and we had an actual cable company that was covering that called Neshoba Valley Cable. And we brought our technology, and it took us almost 6 months to really get the first actual cable modem really works over the cable plant, really works to the people's home residential, really be operated by the cable operators. In theory, that should have been a one-day job, but because it was the first time ever works being done, and because of the first time connecting our residential cable, first time going to the people's home, it took 6 months to really, before you had the performance that we had expected to see. So there's always a lag of real implementation versus laboratory implementation. And that's something I'm always very careful. Another example on that is today, the people claim we can put 10 gigabits over a cable infrastructure. That's great. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. And some people says we can't even push 14 gigabits. That's even better. And there are some standards that says we want to put 3.2 terabytes. I said that's even great. But show me over a long distance of 200 miles that you can actually have reliable technology to work, then you'll see the number is more like around 4 or 2 gigabytes. And it's not those theoretical numbers. So there is a difference between theoretical and practical. And unfortunately, we don't have enough people with enough practical experience in the venture markets and in some of these AI companies to ask those level of a question and make those relevant to everything. But I'm very optimistic. I love innovation. I love the big ideas. I encourage everybody to keep pushing forward, but have some realistic yardstick to measure the real progress.
And building on this, what do you think leaders should be doing right now to stay relevant in terms of skills development, especially people without tech background? How do they stay relevant so that they're not going to get replaced?
So there is a number of the white papers you can see and articles by everybody that says, oh, we don't need anybody to write code anymore because AI can help you to develop code. And that's true. AI can help you to write basic code and a simple code and a lot of what I call a standard module. But we still need the people who program AI chips to be able to learn the computers to be able to program itself. We need mathematicians to write the algorithms that is required to be able to make some of these complex problems broken down. Mathematics is the foundations of the solving. We did it in cable modem. We use math and physics. And then the same thing's a law of physics. We're trying to put a lot of complexity inside the integrated circuits, which is great. But you need to make sure that those type of law of physics that can be applied. So we need mathematicians, we need people with the field of the physics, we need the people who understand algorithms that defines and breaks complex problem to a smaller problem that an AI can solve. And at the same time, we need the power generations to create the things needed. But then don't forget, you need infrastructure. To infrastructure, you need electricians, you need the plumbers, you need the carpenters. We cannot forget those peoples because without those guys, I hear there is a major shortage for some of these high quality companies, even build facilities that they need. So we need to be able to retrain our task force to adopt to those. For example, you hear lately, we're going to bring the manufacturing back to America. I'm all for that. I've been in the manufacturing for 40 plus years of my life. But the manufacturing we did in 1980, 1990, 2000 has nothing similar to the manufacturing of the 2030. The 2030 manufacturing is robotics, is a programming, and is a very time-related, sensitive algorithm base, So having the people to train and build those robots that does a specific task in the best possible way requires new generations of the scientists to be able to work on that one. We also should not forget the impact that AI might bring to the family and social life, because isolation of the family, if I'm only interfacing with the computers and the computer to computers and not a community and not peoples and the friends around me, is going to create a social isolation. So we need to be really careful to make sure that we don't break the community and the family and the society that requires for us to act as a human and be a human and walk like a human and talk like a human, because we still need that in order to be able to nourish this AI industry to get to this next level.
And what emerging tech should knowledge workers pay attention to now, including AI, but beyond AI as well? Anything else you want to mention?
The thing that is missing so far, and that people have not addressed it and give it enough credit, is the quantum technology, quantum computing. Quantum computing has significant roles to play with us. Quantum computing is one of those boosters that we need in order to make our space technology to work better, as well as our AI to work better. So that's one area which needs a better TLC, if you will, and attention. And I encourage anybody and everybody to peel the onion, couple layers on the quantum computing, quantum technology, that it goes. The next level in top of that, which I think is also just as important for our society, is network management and network operations. In order to be able to run a city automatically, in order to be able to run a water company that provides water to our community, in order to make sure we have clean water, in order to make sure the drinking water is safe and sound for community of the town that has 2 million, 4 million, 8 million people on it, we need to have what we call the process and procedures of the industrial engineer to really manage the parameters that is required to be monitored. And some of those need to be done in real time now because of the pollutions that we have, because of the density of the countries and the towns that are growing. And we need to put attentions on those analyses and those quantitative to run our cities and towns and what people need in the case of the drinking waters, for example, or clean air, for example. I will see a time that entire planet Earth will have multiple sensors using with the low power sensors that can measure these parameters and report it to a central place where, just like you get the weather forecast and just like you get a rain forecast, you can actually get air pollution or water pollution forecast for the given community. So we need to put all that together. And also, if autonomous driving takes off, if AI takes off, we need to update the local government and the federal government with how do you run a city that is everything now is automated and run the computers by the computers. So that education needs to fall in place as well.
Last question, since we are running out of time. What underpriced markets or overlooked trends do you think are today's broadband moment?
Really good question that requires a little bit of a research before I can answer that for you. And I have not thought about it, so probably not qualified at this point to answer that, because especially with my book that we just finished, took 3 years to write down how we did the broadband and the challenges we have gone. I haven't really thought about that, so I hate to answer a question that I don't have a good knowledge about it at this point. So my apology to you, Chris, about that.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for everything you shared with us. That was such an incredible conversation. Anything else you want to share about the book, about your work, or anything else at all?
Yeah, the book is really written for 3 type of what are called audiences. One is if you want to be an entrepreneur and everything is against you to be an entrepreneur, read my book. It tells you that there are other ways to succeed and skin the cat than if the venture capitalist turned you off. There's other alternative for growing on that. So that's from an entrepreneur. Secondly, if you're in a college and you like to invent something, I encourage you, because you're in an excellent educational system this country has to offer, think big. Try to solve a big problem. Don't necessarily go after something small and try to think of how can I make money by creating a company. Think about, well, what can I do? So again, the book will help you to see how you could mastermind big ideas. Thirdly, if you want to know what are the challenges that can turn you off in your personal life, as well as your business life, as well as your running a corporation today, there are some good lessons in the book that tells you that how I overcome those elements and how we were able to solve those and maneuvers around them and move forward. Again, I'll look at the broadbands like a river. The waters in the river keeps going down the hills and pass every stone. And every stone that is in front of the water finds a way to go around that stone and keeps going toward the ocean. And the book captures that models very well in the sense. In the end of the day, the book really has list of the heroes that work with me, 300 plus of them, which is mentioned. And I just got a nice memo from a person that I have never met before that says, wow, you mentioned Mr. XY in your book. XY was my best friend, and I never knew his contribution to the broadband until I read your book. And he was delighted that I had given credit to such a person, and most people don't. But I said, well, this book is all about that, the unknown heroes, because broadband has been about 38 years old, that nobody really had given it credit. We in America invented it. We in America built it. We in America scaled it up. We in America made it financially reliable and affordable, and we give it to the rest of the world, just like our apple pie in the country that we have created and shared with the rest of the world. So I think it's a great American story that we have brought on in the book, and I'd like anybody give it a chance and look at that American story in this book.
And you are certainly an unknown hero. And thank you so much for everything you have done for us. Our guest today was Dr. Rouzbeh Yassini, Emmy winner, founder of LANcity, and author of the Accidental Network. He's known as the father of the cable modem and leads innovation through the YAS Foundation. And this episode is sponsored by strategytraining.com. Download the overall approach used in well-managed strategy studies. It's a gift we prepared for you at firmsconsulting.com/overall approach. You can also get McKinsey and BCG winning resume, which is an example of a resume that got offers from both of those firms. And you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/resume PDF. And the new gift today, for the first time, I'm sharing it with you, access to the first episode of how to build a consulting practice. And you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/build. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to connect with you all next time.